Live from Houston, Texas, this is Big Ideas, Small Business with your host, Laura Camrath and Brian Gendron. And now, the music of Max Flynn.
I'm starting to feel a little crazy again. I think it's time I start to pack my things.
All right. Welcome to Big Ideas, Small Business. This is Brian Gendron and Laura. Oh, no Laura Camrath today. Laura is on a flight to Atlanta right now. So we have the honor of a guest host. Today I'm joined by Brittanni Below.
Hello.
And Laura, we will have to get your input on this, and we'll make sure to have some additional content once we get Laura on the mic in Atlanta. But until then, we have the privilege of sharing time with Brittanni. She's a career strategist and coach, has had a pretty unique journey of her own. We'll dive into that a little bit. So before we get into it, I always like to share fun facts about our guests. And what comes to mind with Brittanni is her and I have got to know each other over probably the last 6 months or so through Toastmasters. And we're in a Toastmasters club together and actually on the same learning track.
Mm-hmm.
We're, what's it called? Effective coaching?
Effective coaching. I
We're
think
both,
you're like right ahead of me, barely.
I think we're right in the same spot now.
Okay.
So we're both level 2 effective coaches. And has that been a good experience for you, Toastmasters?
Yeah. I didn't join right away. I took probably 2 years thinking about joining because I kept hearing about it. And I wish I would have joined sooner just because it's definitely helped me with being more effective with speaking, not just publicly, but in meetings at work and the way I talk with people and not sounding like I don't know what I'm talking about.
And listening. You know, one of the things that I didn't really think I was going to get out of it is being a better listener.
Yeah.
I don't know if you found that as well. One thing I want to share with you, I don't think you know this, and I don't know if you care or not, but we're a distinguished club. Not only a distinguished club, but we're a presidential distinguished club, which means we've hit a bunch of goals as a club. Ultimately, it means that our club knows what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think you'd agree. I mean, really well-run meetings and great group of people.
I haven't ever been to any other Toastmasters club to compare, but some of the ones, I have friends that have gone to clubs and they've given me insight to what the meetings were like. It's nothing like ours. Ours is the best. So plug for a club. If anyone is looking for a Toastmasters, you should come check ours out.
Yeah, Talking About Toastmasters over in Greenway Plaza. And so, yeah, we're a distinguished club. We do everything correct. I'm now an area director, so I'm going to go look at other clubs. And like you, I haven't been to any other ones. But I have a feeling that ours really is something special. So glad to be a part of it and glad you're a part of it. So that's my fun fact about you. And the way this works is we get into a big idea that you've had in your career and your personal life, and we dive deeper into that. But before we get to that, let's talk about who you are and learn a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with who I am and I'll run into the big idea because it blends into that a little easily. Mm-hmm. So again, my name is Brittanni Below. I am a confidence strategist and career coach. I've been doing coaching now for a few years, but I started off in health and fitness doing coaching. I currently do have a corporate job, so I also have a side business, and I'm not someone that thinks that I have to quit my day job in X amount of years to be successful. I think you can do both. So throughout my time today, if I'm referencing anything about having a side biz, it truly is a side biz for me. I have worked in the corporate area now for many, many years within the HR field. I've gotten my experience mostly from human resources, and the big idea that I had really was to become a career coach and take myself more seriously, and that all sparked from a conversation with a coach that I had when I was trying to describe what it is I enjoyed doing, what it is that I did do, and why I was trying so hard to separate the two. Because what I do during the day, I enjoy, but there were elements that I was also doing outside of that with fitness and health. So the big idea was to make that transition into more career coaching and stop trying to separate my normal life from what I enjoy. I think a lot of people make that mistake.
I agree. And isn't it great when you find yourself in perfect harmony? Well, you're never in perfect harmony, but don't you find you get so much more done when you're able to have congruency with your personal life and your work life?
Yeah, I made a comment on social media a few months ago, and I said something along the lines of, it's amazing how time flies by while you're working and actually enjoying it. And people are like, what the hell do you do? What kind of work are you doing when you actually enjoy it?
That's a good opening line and get somebody's attention. Yeah.
It is amazing how much time flies when you actually have fun working and it doesn't feel like work. So I think everyone should have a balance of that. And not only the job that brings in the dough and pays all the bills, but if there's something that maybe you're not even making money doing yet, but if you enjoy it, you should find a way to monetize it.
That's right. Make profits out of your passion. Absolutely. So talk about the transition that you had to go through, because before you were a career coach, you were doing a very different type of coaching, right?
Yeah, so I did a lot with fitness classes. I did personal training. I taught fitness classes for a few years, and that was a little bit different. First of all, transitioning on social media from posting about health and fitness to, okay, now I'm going to help you with your career. And I started talking about things people were wondering, what in the world are you doing? It's all relative, and I think it's still important. If you're going to have a career, you need to take care of yourself. You can't show up for anybody if you're not taking care of yourself. You can't serve people if you're not well and focused on your own health. So that's always going to be important. But I think the career focus for me came because I noticed in my conversations with people, I would talk to them about their health and their wellness. It always stemmed back, to work. And I hate my job, and I'm stressed out. I have this long drive. I can't work out. I don't eat well, and it's all around their career. So they're asking, what are things I can be doing in my career? How can I move ahead? And yeah, some of it's taking care of yourself, but there's more to it.
That makes sense. So there's a light bulb moment when you were personal training with the right person, and you're like, wait, why am I not? I can help these people in a more holistic way.
Yeah, and honestly,
okay.
That moment came because I had a moment where I honestly got sick of trying to hold people's hand. If you're going to work out, you're going to work out. If you're going to eat right, I can't make you eat right. And it was much easier, and I got more passion from helping people talking about their career trajectory and where they wanted to go and how they could get there versus beating a dead horse when this person says they don't want to follow the meal plan that they've been provided. So it was more
fulfilling, sounds like. And do you incorporate what you used to teach as a personal trainer or diet? Is that part of your coaching as well?
Yeah, I certainly, any clients I speak to, anyone I have discussions with, a lot of it is, how are you taking care of yourself? Again, if you're going to show up running a business or working in a corporate job, you won't be able to perform well or to your max potential if you're not internally okay and if you're not physically okay. And a lot of people just, if you look at performance trends, you look at absentee rates, it's people who are not taking care of themselves, and they're driving themselves into the ground, working crazy hours and neglecting themselves for a paycheck, and that's not healthy. So lots of things around there we talk about.
So your professional career in HR is where you should be, basically what you're saying. You care about the wellness of people, and so how does this career coaching strategist, how does it work?
So first of all, getting a career coach is something that I advise a lot of people to do, because you do need someone that can help talk through what your goals and your passions are, really, even if you don't want to run a business, a coach to help you in your current job. How do I move ahead? You can't really have that conversation you can have it with friends and family, you can have it with your manager, but if you're trying to take your manager's job, that's a little awkward. And there are certain things you can be doing to prepare. And so with career coaching, first steps are really to think about, where are you now? What have you done? What can you be doing more of? And really, where do you want to go? How can you get there? And a lot of times people neglect the experience they have, and they focus so much on job titles. being a manager, I think that's something we can talk about. If you just aspire to be a manager, you could easily say, I've never managed people, I can't be a manager. That's not true.
Right.
So getting people out of their own way and breaking down those limiting beliefs that people have in their heads, and when they tell themselves they can't do something and talk themselves out of having a conversation or taking a risk and applying for the job. Why are you so afraid? What's the hesitation for? What's holding you back? And that's what we really dig into. How can we break past that?
Limiting beliefs. Yeah, I mean, there's been times in my career, so take the first time I got into the workforce, of course you're insecure because you have no experience. And I know now that the experience doesn't come until after you take the risk. After you get the job, then you get the experience. Mm-hmm. So, but at the time, I was telling you before the podcast that I would go through the company intranet. This is a large Fortune 1000 company. Mm-hmm. And I click on my boss. You can click on his name to find out who his boss was 6 times to get up to the CEO of this company. I'm like, a 22-year-old kid, how am I going to do this? And I was very overwhelming and intimidating. And that would be an opportunity to bring in a career coach. And I wish when I was 22 I had, somebody like you to tell me that even was a thing. Yeah. But that was my first, when I understood what you did, that was the first time I thought that I would, in my career, something like that would make sense. And that's right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people have that. And you don't want to be disrespectful if you have a chain of command that you go through. Obviously, speaking to your manager about career aspirations, all those things are important. But a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, I'll never be able to get there because you're trying to go up these 6 levels, scrolling through your company intranet. There's times that you can bypass those levels. Maybe it's moving into another department first. Maybe that opportunity that you're looking at in your field is available somewhere else much sooner. And there's a lot of organizations where there might be 6 levels in the one you're sitting in, but it's only 3 in another. And the skills that you have and the opportunity is there if you believe in yourself and if you make the right connections. So that's part of it too.
So this is great advice for you entrepreneurs out there trying to navigate the corporate structure. Certainly don't feel like you have to take it on alone, and certainly don't feel like there's only one path up. Because like you said,
there's never just one path.
That's right. And also, if you are interested, I know Brittany said that that's not her interest, but if you're interested in transitioning to full-on owning your own company and starting your own company, you're going to want to be at those management levels where you have exposure and making those bigger decisions. And you got to get there as quick as possible. But to your point, strategically too, you can really burn some bridges trying to climb that corporate ladder. Right?
Yeah, you don't want to bulldoze through chain of command. You don't want to seem as though you are impatient. Anytime that you have conversations with, like I said, I would always advise you talk to your manager first. If you have a manager or somebody you work with that doesn't support your career growth and where you're trying to go,
probably in the wrong spot.
You're probably in the wrong spot, and you can also not make sure that you don't let that person keep you from continuing to try. Because I've seen a few people, I had the conversation with my boss, I asked for the promotion, I asked for the raise, didn't get it, and then they dead end. And that's just absolutely the wrong way. You might just be working in the wrong place, and you got to know, okay, try again. You didn't die. You can always keep moving forward, and I think a lot of people just feel stuck, and there's always an option. So career coach can really help you see more than what you're able to see yourself.
Yeah, and I couldn't echo it enough. If you're just getting out of school or you're about to graduate next year, think about before you graduate finding Brittany or finding somebody who provides services like Brittany and get started on
there
really
is a
thinking
lot
about
I
your
learned
career. That
college didn't teach.
That's it. These are things that this is exactly right. There's no course on this, or there's probably very few out there. This is hard knocks. This is life coach. So the next thing that I was thinking about in my career that I think you can, so this is something, start early, and then you can grow up with people throughout their entire career. So I moved up in management eventually, and I had to go to the owner of this is a small company at this point. I think it was like 20 employees at the time. And I've been in sales for a few years, and I about to find out I was going to have my son Thomas, and when you're about to have a kid, the whole world changes. I'm like, I got to be in management now. That's what dads do. And so I went to the owner and I wrote up this whole plan. And I mean, walking in there, I almost turned around, like, just got almost spooked myself out.
What was it in your head that was telling you?
You kind of, in your head, you go through the conversation, how it's going to go, and you just think it's going to go wrong. But also there was an existing person in the seat that I wanted, and we were friends. But I knew that the CEO wasn't pleased with the performance. So that's a weird dichotomy too. You don't want to kind of stab your friend in the back. So you deal with all that stuff.
There's a couple things I heard there. So first, you had some assumptions in your head. That's the first mistake, not to assume that you know how a conversation is going to go. It's good to role play a few different ways that it could go.
You can drive yourself crazy. Yeah.
But you shouldn't make assumptions. And then obviously, it's professional. Your friendships, and there's people that may disagree with me, but at the end of the day, you are making money. You're supporting your family. You have a baby on the way at that time. You can't worry about your friend. I mean, if they're truly your friend, they're still going to be there, and it's business.
Right. So these are the types of things, again, that you can work through with a career coach and strategist. And luckily, I had the balls to actually go in and do it, but it was very close not to. And it's kind of a confidence thing.
And what was the outcome of that discussion?
The outcome is I got the gig, but you have to understand, I wrote like a 14-page plan.
Did he read all
plan.
of it?
Oh yeah. So, but I was able to. I knew the situation well enough. Especially, it's probably a little easier in a small company than it is in corporate. So
you said you wrote a 14-page plan. Who told you to do that? Who advised you?
I just did it.
Did you research like why and what the plan should include, or these were all things happening?
It kind of. I mean, you know me. I mean, I'm fairly entrepreneurial, and I was frustrated with how things were going in the company, and when things aren't going well, I feel compelled to change them. And so I just Jerry Maguired this thing and wrote this whole manifesto for how I was going to change it. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. But one thing you said earlier that I was thinking about was, so I got into this manager role, and they gave me no formal management training. So I did some really passive-aggressive stuff and just kind of made it up as I went. And I always recommend anybody who's taking on a management role to, even if your company doesn't pay for it,
go get something.
Do it on your own. It's worth it.
And that's a mistake, to that point. If anyone wants to move up into a management role, which is pretty natural, at some point you're cranking out all this work, you're moving up through the ranks, you might progress in your current role. But if you want to become a manager, managers and technical skills don't matter at that point. And you can't know everything. And managers really, truly need to begin thinking about, how do I help lead this team? Not how do I get the work done, but how do I lead this team so that they can get the work done? And that's not what people tell you when you become a manager, and then you come in and no experience in training, and you think, I'm the boss now, and I'm just going to tell people what to do, and it's my way. That will run a team so far away from you. And that's something you don't experience, and I'm sure you might learn some lessons the hard way. But yeah.
Sure did. How about you in your transition while I'm being vulnerable?
Yeah.
What are some things, mistakes, or anything you can share that we can learn from?
Yeah, so biggest mistakes for me as I transitioned into career coaching, obviously I still have my day job. So a lot of it is kind of separating in some ways, because I don't want people to mistake or think that I am running away from my corporate. I love my company. I love having a 401k and insurance, because if I went on my own, that all goes away. And I like that security. But I also like being able to be creative and add my personal style. And as I rebranded into more of a career coach away from health and fitness, the mistakes I made were assuming that people understood. I do a lot of things on social media, and I think for anyone who uses social media, you can't assume that people see a post and know exactly what you're talking about. Or even just taking it super basic. If you post something about a birthday coming up, and if you see this, message me so I can send you an invite. Well, what if somebody doesn't get on the social media at the time you posted it? I'll never see that, and then you're assuming I saw it, and now my feelings are hurt because I didn't get invited. That kind of thing. You just have to be consistent too, and that was something I wasn't great at. So I got frustrated when people would still come to me for health fitness, and I might have turned them away in the wrong way. Like, that's not what I do. Didn't you see my post now? But you've seen my website. You can't assume that people know, and it takes time. But consistency is the key, and I've learned that the hard way.
Good. That's a good example. And yeah, I mean, just because you post it doesn't mean the world knows.
Right.
In fact, as I grow the following of this podcast, one follower at a time, you really have to fight and claw to get those followers and to keep their attention. And, it goes to good content, consistency, things that you talked about. Well, it's good that you were able to rebrand yourself. I mean, maybe that's the only way I know you, because I've known you for 6 months.
And one other thing that just popped in my head. So in terms of like content and sharing and how you talk to people, you mentioned being somewhat passive aggressive as a manager. And so I can say the same. I've made the mistake of being passive aggressive. And I actually did have someone once tell me, you're really positive, but in a negative way. I'm like, well, what does that mean? But it's stemming from the problem and, the pet peeves that I have and things that really grind my gears are because they're things I used to do. So I can come across as frustrated, or when I'm trying to help someone, I'm very irritated because I've learned that lesson and they haven't learned it yet. So that's another piece to this whole thing, is not to let your own emotions get in the way and catch yourself when you're being passive aggressive, because I learned, and for somebody to say you're really positive but it's kind of negative, that just turns people off.
So you're kind of referring to emotional intelligence, right? Especially when it comes to communication, and that is key. It's critical, and honestly, it's rare that a young person just has that. In fact, nobody has that. You develop and learn it.
It has to be developed.
And we do it in an interesting time where you bring up the point where social media is involved, and of course, I love that you keep going back to the assumptions that we make. The assumptions can really haunt us, and I thought you brought up a great point about that. So let's talk about the Brittanni Below, what you do, where we can find you. If somebody was looking for coaching, where do they go?
So you can check out my website at thebrittanni.com, and I'm on all the social medias, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I've been doing a lot more on LinkedIn lately, and it makes more sense there, honestly. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can find my website, message me, email. That's the easiest way.
And I'll share these links in the podcast notes for everybody, and then through our social media channels. How about this? Do you have any software apps that you would recommend to our listeners that have really helped you?
Yeah, so I'm going to be pretty basic in my opinion with this, but Evernote is my favorite app.
That's what Tony Watley last week was Evernote as well. Yeah.
Evernote, because I love talking to myself, and all of my best ideas usually come in while I'm in the car or when I'm walking around and I just get an idea. So
for me, it's working out. Whenever I'm working out, get the blood flowing. A walk's a good example.
It's just random for me. So I like Evernote because you can talk text. I do a lot of blogging, so it's easy for me to turn that text that I just spoke into the phone into a blog. Evernote's great. Capture that. You can take it everywhere. It's on your phone, on a computer. And then I also like Mint, which is a financial app.
Mint's great.
And I need that now. There's a lot of people, I read recently, 40% of millennials are in debt, out of just crazy amounts of debt. And it's because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses. I have to agree. I'm not completely outside of that loop either. There are things I'm trying to pay off, and Mint really helps me.
Helps you manage that. And it'll scold you if you've been spending too much on fast food or coffee.
Yeah,
you can track all those things.
I love it because it breaks down where is your money being spent, what investments do you have, if any, and gives you some tips on how you should be managing your budget.
Mm-hmm. So Mint, and that, again, that's an app that I've used in my past, and probably should get back to.
And they're free.
And there's our free apps. I think Intuit bought Mint, right? Yeah. Good. So what about reading? I know we didn't mention this earlier, but you're on the John Maxwell team, so you're going to recommend a Maxwell book?
Yeah, I have to recommend a Maxwell book. And my favorite, so I'll recommend two, one for fun and one for business, but my favorite book from John Maxwell is Intentional Living. And it's all about how to live a life of significance in everything that you do. And whether it's you're growing a business or you're just growing as a leader in your own life for the people around you and your day job and at home with your family, you know, how can you live a more intentional life? And it also helps you to understand how you can actually get better at gratitude and appreciation of everything that you're doing, and even the things that you hate doing. You know, they're necessary to live. I hate doing laundry. I hate grocery shopping, but those are all things, you know, I have to look nice. I have to have clean clothes. I have to eat good food. So you learn to appreciate things and you look at it differently. So that's a good book.
Real quick before you get into the other book, I'm trying to work on my mindset on things stupid like laundry. So my wife's very pregnant. She's like 27 weeks pregnant. And so I'm taking on more chores around the house, including folding laundry. And whenever I do chores like that, I'm always I'm like in my own head, like let's just stop doing this right now. Yeah. And I'm like, how many clothes do I have left? I'm trying to just get out of that. Like, do you have any idea? Does that book help me change my mindset on all this so I can just get through that crap?
It'll help you with changing your mindset for sure. It's not all about just learning to love everything you do that you hate, but it is definitely about learning how to appreciate and understand everything in your life, what you're doing, and how you can actually be more intentional and less I'm doing it just to go through the motions.
So like in that, it's a really stupid example, but in that example, I'm like, well, allowing my wife to rest, and she really appreciates that. So every time I fold this, it's
not all about you, Brian.
It's right. Right. And what's the second book?
So the next book I recommend, and it's just a fun book, and I recently got this, and I was so excited. It's called The Pretty Mess by Erica Jane. I don't know if any of your followers watch The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but that is one of my guilty pleasures. I bought that book because this woman is just crazy. She's out there. She is unapologetic about who she is. And the book I bought, really, it's about her life. And so I enjoy reading it because it inspires me and shows me that really no matter where you come from, you make the life that you want. And you can't come up with a billion excuses. And yeah, some people do meet the right people, but that's, again, if you position yourself, there's opportunity all around. And yeah, some people get lucky and they marry a millionaire and you're on Real Housewives. But for me, it's just seeing everything that person has gone through and the struggles that they had and where they are now. And it's fun because it's a little bit. It's called The Pretty Mess. She was like a former dancer and she still does dancing and performing now, lots of things for the LGBT community. And yeah, it's a fun book, inspiring in a different way.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, we can draw inspiration from all different places. And kind of what you were saying earlier, I like to think that we make our own luck, right? Mm-hmm. So, well, Brittany, this has been fun. So we're everything you talked about between the apps and the books and of course your website. And can you do me a favor and spell out, because it's a very unique spelling of
so
your
my
name.
name is spelled Brittani. So it's thebrittanni.com.
Yep.
And if you have trouble finding that, definitely here on Facebook or on Facebook Live, share it through Instagram, Twitter, all those things, you can find me.
Perfect. And again, we'll share those links. And then I filled it out today. You have free coaching opportunity through the site?
Yes. So I do offer coaching services, and my free webinar that I'm promoting right now is called Connecting with Confidence. And I actually have a webinar coming up with the Elevate Network on July 17th at noon Central Time. So anyone who's a member of Elevate, I believe some non-members can sign up to join that as well. But it's all about connecting with confidence. In talking with you, obviously spoke a lot about relationships and who you know, and making sure that you reach out to people and, I mean, build your network. That's what that is really all about. Not so much networking, but how do you really go beyond just having a small conversation with somebody that's meaningless and making a more meaningful impact in someone's life by truly connecting with them. And that is what Connecting with Confidence helps with.
Terrific. Well, I've signed up, and I'll go ahead and watch the webinar and see if I can't connect with confidence. Speaking of connecting with confidence, being on the show, we call our guests and our followers big idealists. So you are now in the circle of big
Yay.
Idealists, and we're happy to have you here and have you part of this family. So anything that you need us to talk about or promote, or just reach out to us anytime.
I appreciate it. It's been
well,
fun.
Appreciate you coming on. So we're going to get into the 4th of July holiday. And again, Brittanni Below was gracious enough to join us today, and maybe we'll have you back on sometime.
Love it. Thank you.
All right, I'll thank you for joining us, and get out there and close some business. Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Central Texas reigns the strongest drink I found.
Thank you for listening to Big Ideas Small Business. Follow us at BISB Media and visit our website at www.bisbmedia.com.